I think it was the 28th day of March, 1853, that I commenced my journey for Oregon. Our journey was a hard one, and we came near losing part of our train by fire. We had the whole train on a dead run, and it only saved it by crossing a stream of water. At the Deschutes River, we had our first taste of fresh salmon. We journeyed on and reached Salem, near the Willamette River. We crossed and arrived at our journey's end in Polk County, at a place that is now called Monmouth. According to the memoirs of an employee of Peter Butler, the wagon train was successful. Though they dealt with fire and they dealt with ice and mud and drought and flood and hail and loss of livestock and various personalities along the way. If we were to go back to Warren County, Illinois and drive out today on the existing highways, it would take us about 31 hours and we'd cover about 2,100 miles. The roads weren't that good in those days, and it took one of the wagon trains 10 months. Peter Butler and his wife and his son, Ira F.M. Butler, were the head of one of the wagon trains that settled in this area. And they named the Monmouth after their previous residence in Illinois. Ira became one of the prominent citizens in the area. He served on the founding board of trustees of the university. Later, he was Speaker of the House of Representatives in the last session of the territorial legislature. He was the first mayor of Monmouth, and it's interesting to note that he cast the deciding vote in deciding how to name our community. It almost was named Dover, but they named it Monmouth instead, and it was his vote that did it.
The original town site was 640 acres in size. That land was broken up into 16 blocks, and half of one of those blocks was dedicated as the city park that I'm standing in today. An additional 25 acres was dedicated as the university outlet, and sale of lots in that area were intended to finance the university. The first public building in town was a 20 by 30 foot wooden schoolhouse at the corner of Main Street and Monmouth Avenue. The first bank in Monmouth was a private institution owned by founding father David Truman Stanley. In 1889, it was incorporated as the Polk County Bank. Today, it houses several local businesses. One of the first residences in town was the Howell House. John Howell moved his family to Monmouth, built a home, and it eventually became a boarding house for students attending the university. After several renovations, the Howell House today remains as a bed and breakfast. By the mid-1800s, downtown Monmouth was a thriving business community, where we had 3 mercantile stores, a drugstore, a grocery store, a harness shop, 2 blacksmiths, 2 wagon makers, a cooperage, and a post office.
Because the original town map set aside land for a university, the history of Western Oregon University is very much ingrained into the history of Monmouth. On January 18, 1856, the Oregon Territorial Legislature signed the charter creating Monmouth University and elected Ira Butler as president. But it wasn't until 1858 that a 2-story wooden structure was built here at the current site of Campbell Hall. We believe the structure was similar to Bethel College, which was built around the same time and located 12 miles northeast of Monmouth. It's unknown exactly when the first classes were started. Records reveal that J.B. Stump was hired to teach English, Greek, Latin, geometry, and trigonometry in 1860, just 1 year after Oregon achieved statehood. In 1865, Monmouth University and Bethel College merged to become Christian College, and the first modern campus building was built. Clay bricks for Campbell Hall were made on site, and the school was often referred to as the Brick College. The building's actually named after Thomas F. Campbell, who was the second president of Christian College. In 1877, enrollment at Christian College was 237, with young men and women taking prep and college classes, studying music, or doing graduate work. Tuition was $20 for college work and $25 for music, all payable in advance. The class of 1877 had 8 graduates. Another prominent structure built around this time was Gentle House. Elizabeth Butler, widow of J.B.V. Butler, the first postmaster to serve in Monmouth, built Gentle House, later owned by Thomas Gentle. Gentle House was donated to the university in 1981.
You had basically wooden buildings. The streets were mud. They threw rock on the roads. That helped some. There were street lamps. The street lamps were kerosene. The town marshal was in charge of keeping the peace, keeping up the streets, and also lighting and turning out the lamps every night. Prior to World War I, a railroad was built between Monmouth and Independence, I&M, Independence and Monmouth Railroad. It was the shortest railroad in Oregon. Loaded it up full of people to come from Independence to Monmouth to celebrate. They hadn't loosened the engine up quite so much, and they had a little trouble making it up the hill. So they had to stop, and everybody had to get out and push the engine.
In 1882, banker David Stanley became president of Christian College and worked to change the school into a teacher training facility. Later that year, the Oregon legislature authorized the act, and the name was changed to Oregon State Normal School. The graduating class of 1887 planted a tiny sequoia tree in front of Campbell Hall. Today, the giant sequoia stands 123 feet tall. The university's first football team was formed in 1893. Until 1920, the team was called the Oregon Normals. Later, the team formally adopted the name Wolves to honor former coach Larry Wolf. As Monmouth grew, so did the university. Receiving its first state funding of $23,000, Oregon State Normal School added a North Library wing, a South wing, and finally a bell tower to Campbell Hall.
A lot of the economy of early Monmouth lay on the hands of the university. People made a living by selling things to the students.
By 1901, student activities flourished as well. Some popular clubs and activities included the Physics Club, the Vespertine Society, and the Normal Cadet Band. There were athletic teams for both men and women in basketball and tennis, and there was a code of conduct printed in the student catalog.
Being a student at Oregon Normal School wasn't as much fun as being a student at school today is concerned. Discipline was a matter of some concern. You didn't have a chance to raise much hell, to be truthful with you. The student manual said, and I'll read it to you, students will be expected to conduct themselves at all times as ladies and gentlemen. Students will be expected to be in their rooms early and not to lounge about the stores or on the streets.
Things changed in 1905 when the legislature refused to appropriate money to normal schools. Left to the voters, local citizens and supporters paid salaries and operation expenses until 1906. The school survived 2 more years on money from tuition and more contributions from the Monmouth community. In 1909, the Oregon legislature approved funding for 6 months through June. That fall, Oregon State Normal School failed to open and remained closed until 1911 when it was reopened as Oregon Normal School.
Monmouth had an unusual birth. It had an unusual growth, and it is, even today, a little bit different of an institution.
When I look back at the history of Monmouth and the foresight shown by the founding fathers in creating the university and the support for that university showed by the citizens of the city, well, it makes me proud to be a Monmouth resident.
Even though the university fell on hard times and closed for 2 years, we know that the citizens of Monmouth and university supporters didn't give up. Their pioneer spirit brought us to where we are today.